Welcome to the Hole in Head Moto Podcast, where motorcycle musings lead to medium-sized adventures. This week, some Ducati progress, Volvo radiator decisions, and the decency of the observed trials community. Here's Andy and Blaine.
Again, I got three things I'd like to talk about today. Would that be taking advantage of the whole time or not? Or should we?
No, I just got one. I have one follow up from last week in the Ducati guy.
Oh, listen, I tell you what, can we put that first? Because I tell you, that was honestly the most therapeutic conversation I've ever had. And there was nothing that revealed the madness and insanity of internet forums more than your topic last week. I mean, it was so helpful. I don't know if it was helpful to anybody else, but it just gave me a chance to say everything I wanted to say. It brought feelings out. It helped me deal with anger. Afterwards, I felt like I'd had some sort of cleansing.
Yeah.
And then I found somebody else who made the same kind of comment on an internet forum, and I nearly looked up their address to see if I could drive by their house and shoot bullet holes into their dwelling. But
okay. So
right.
the whole thing around the Ducati. Now we're starting to uncover what it is to be a Ducati guy, and specifically a Ducati singles guy, right? That
yes,
guy.
Yes, because now that we're parsing it pretty slim, and there is all these categories are different.
Yeah,
And how about just say for people who didn't hear last week's episode, Andy gave a great example of what it's like to put a question on an internet forum, and then to have just the absolute debacle of people interrupting, saying things that aren't valuable. It's just what makes the internet a horrible place.
Yeah, everything but the answer I asked for. Yes.
So anyway, that's what happened. We went through it in detail, but Andy now has some new details.
Okay, so the archetype of the Ducati guy, or that whole community, is becoming more complex, because continuing on from that thread, which was, does anyone have a 350 wide case barrel? Right. Pretty straightforward. It turns out no one does.
Right.
And so that kept going, and the guy finally said, "Oh yeah, I've got a 350. I've got a couple of those in stock." Holy crap! And then it turns out no, he meant the liners. God damn it.
Yep.
And then that pretty well ended. That was the end of it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so it's even worse now that we never had resolution to begin with, but the anti-resolution was the resolution. So nobody's bothering to even contribute now, because it's so obvious that it's just a ridiculous and insane thread that came from a pretty sane and rational thread. But as I'm looking around on Facebook Marketplace, doing like the Ducati forums and Marketplace within the Ducati singles communities, there's a guy who's posted 3 singles in Kansas, right, on eBay. So follow the link, go to his eBay page. He's pretty proud of them.
That's they sell complete bikes or parts?
Both. Turns out they're complete bikes. But it's like roller for $2,500.
Okay, yeah.
But if you're into it, you're into it. But I'm not. But he also says I have parts as well.
Okay,
great. I said, hey man, I'm looking for a 350 wide case Scrambler barrel, just a barrel, don't need anything else. Do you have any? Do you have anything? And I'm going to go easy on him, because I think that he's in a pickle and he needed some cash. But his reply is everything I hate about the Ducati thing, right? His reply was,
okay.
Yeah, I got one.
I was hoping this was going to be the breakthrough, finally, the most reasonable, helpful thing the internet could do.
It turns out that it is, but still, the trials along the way.
Okay, take me down the road then. Tell me what happened.
I said, hey man, do you have a 350 wide case jug? I just need the barrel, so, whatever. Yes, I do. Holy shit.
Oh.
What? And he sends a picture.
What?
Yeah, he sends a picture, and this beautiful, it's clean, looks like he vapor blasted it.
Maybe the internet is working again.
I get it. And then right next to it,
mankind's getting better.
Yeah, right next to it is a head. Looks like a rebuilt head.
Yeah.
It's got brand new valve guides, and it's all set up. And I said, awesome. That's what I need. What do you need for it? $600.
Ouch.
I said, oh, is that, oh, okay. I just need the barrel.
Oh, so you thought he was pricing the barrel and the head?
I mean, I hope so, for this picture of two things and with the price tag on it. I said, oh, hey, yeah, that's great, but I just need the barrel, because 600 is not it's kind of a terrible price for both of those things.
Yes.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt and let him have the out cosmically that he wanted 600 for the pair. So I said, oh, that's I just need the barrel. Thank you, though.
Unless said, you knew that and you're manipulating him.
No, I did. I knew that. I knew that he was. Yeah.
Okay.
I said, yeah, I just need the barrel, man. And he says, oh yeah, 600. I sell this to guys all around the world every day.
Yeah.
And I said, well, okay, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm not going to yuck your yum. That's your business.
Yeah.
Go for it. Not for me. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the straight fucking answer, by the way.
Yeah.
No harm done. So I said, appreciate it. Walk away. He said, okay, $350. So, whoa. Yeah, that's not really. Well, okay. First of all,
that's an awkward position to be in, because he's come down nearly by half, and it's still not even close.
Which tells me that the
tough.
price of these goods are so inflated unnecessarily and just tragically, because they do exist, but you can only get it if you're in a particular position where it's like, oh yeah, 600 for the barrel, that's fine.
He's looking for those. He's just looking for that narrow category of guys that's got nothing but money, that wants to do the project, and they're just going to buy everything they can. And I've met guys like that are just not concerned because they have a bunch of money, and they're thinking, hey, I'm just glad I found it.
And
right? He's looking for that guy.
God bless him. God bless him.
Yes.
But that's not me, right?
But
so I said, and then I thought, well, what would I pay for that? He said, well, what do you want? What do you want to give me? And I said, I'd step up. Like I need it. It's clean. I said, I could do like 250. And that's me with my balls out. You know what I mean? Like, I got, and he says, 3.25. Oh my God, dude. So, and then I said, okay, well, let me noodle on it. Right. And again, I'm going back to eBay. There's this guy started an auction for $30, but it's a narrow case, and I had to go back and forth with the dimensions.
Right.
He's the only one that I can find where it's clean off the shelf. I call our guy in Portland. He's looking for me. He might have to re-sleeve one. It's going to be a thing. He's probably going to charge $200-300. And so I finally was just
at least, yeah.
And then I see a familiar picture on eBay, and it's a 350 wide case barrel with a head that matches. It's the same picture that he sent me. I said, oh, he's selling it on eBay as well. $450 for the head and the barrel.
Okay.
So right now I'm already at 3 different prices.
Yes.
For, and so I came back and said, hey man, so does that mean that the head's 150? Because that's 300. He was going to ship it. Yeah. He was going to ship it for 25. So I went 300 for the barrel. And then on eBay, it's 450 with a head. I said, hey, is that head, $150? He says, 550 for the set.
So he's asking you for 550 for the set, but he's got it on eBay at 450.
Yeah. And I said, dude, you got it on eBay for 450. And he said, and by the way, it's $450 on eBay plus $45 shipping, which is fine.
Okay, yeah.
So say $490.
Okay.
He says 550 for both of them plus shipping. I said, hey man, you got it on eBay for $450, dude. And he says, yeah, $450 plus shipping. So for so here we are again. I found a 350 wide case barrel,
and you just can't get to the issue.
It either costs $600, $325, $450, and you get a free head, $550 and you get a free head
plus shipping,
or TBD, right? And finally, I just said, dude, this is getting kind of weird. Like I'm I'm out. You know, hey, I do appreciate your time. I just wish you'd give me a straight answer, like just a straight price. You know, even
Yeah.
if it's a crazy price and you stuck by it, I can
Mm-hmm.
say yes or no. But I don't know where you're at, man.
Yeah.
And he said, because I'd already told him the 250. That's what I'm
Right.
stepping up. He said, 325 shipping. Okay. God damn, no, you know, and so I didn't want to commit because I'm like, dude, this guy's just like trying to get money now, you know?
Right.
And he wants to do it outside of eBay. So I'm about to send this full like friends and family through. So
with no protection, right? Yeah.
with no protection. So then I said, nah, I'm okay. He said, okay, 250 plus shipping. I said, okay, you know, what's shipping gonna be? Because if I say yes, I'm not gonna, I'm not doing that.
$75.
Yeah. The $28. So okay. And I didn't commit. I just said, okay, that's information. That's information that I have.
So now you know.
Now I know yet another. That's the 6th number I think he's given me. But I'm still gonna wait on Portland, right?
If
just
I'm thinking right,
happens.
if I just followed the story for now, you're in at 278. Is that right?
Oh, it gets better. He rounded it down to 275 for me.
Okay.
So that's cool. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and I get it. I think he's got some bills to pay today or yesterday, whatever. And I completely get it. Like he's liquidating,
sure,
needs that money. Just say it up front. You know what I mean? Because say this is the best I'd do for it, or
you have to give this guy the same out we give ourselves. Because here's what I'm thinking: he wants $600 for it. That's because when he's not talking to you, he's looking for a bunch of stuff he wants to buy for another Ducati or bike that he's working on, and he's already spent the money mentally. Oh, if I had the 600, I'd get this. Then he realizes I might not get nothing. So now he's just paring it down to think, okay, well, I could still get this. So I think he's shopping on the other side, just spending his money before he has it. So he may be a guy that's just like us.
Yeah. And so, but and the reality is he's got these other bikes and I'm not. So I can give him a little bit of out. It's like, you're kind of a crazy motorcycle guy too. That's fine. Like I'm not.
Okay. Help me with the math. If he started at 600 and he's now at 275, what's the percentage that he's marked that down? I can't do that. More,
it's 55%.
Does that mean the Ducati rollers that are for sale that he has on eBay
then
now?
I looked at his eBay rollers. He's marked those down too. So I think he's after a cash grab, and he thought that he'd be that. I'll put these up for $2,000, and some idiot's going to buy them.
So if they're now they're 900 to 1100, they're probably viable projects.
Yeah. So now. They're between 650 and he's got one for 650, one for 900, and one for 1600. The 1600 is a Scrambler that he originally had for like 28.
Okay.
Right?
Well, now those are getting to be that seems to be pretty reasonable.
Those are reasonable prices, but he's in Kansas, right? So
that's right. You go towards Kansas all the time.
So then, we finally came to it, and I was just like, "Hey, man, let's just do it. I'll send you some money, whatever." And so I sent him PayPal, but I sent it as an
eBay purchase or
as a purchase, right? And then but then I paid the fees, right? I'm not going to do that to him.
Yeah.
So I paid $9 or $10 more for the fees. I'm not worried about it. And I said, "Hey, just send it to you." And by this time, he's like, he understands, I think, where I'm coming from. Like I could tell he got a little flustered, and he's just trying to get some money. And from my perspective, he's giving me 5 different prices for the same thing. And he knows that I'm going to get a little pissed off here. Whether or not he just is like trying to hold on to the sale or not, or whatever, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But he's being a little bit, more coy. And I think he's understanding that, he's being weird. So he goes through and everything. And then he says, "Hey, man, I need you to send it friends and family because then I have to pay tax on it." I'm like, okay. Like, you know what, dude? That's what you get, if I send it to your friends and family, I'm out on a limb here because you could be the maniac that you seem to be, and then I never get the part. I'm out $300.
Right.
So I think he understood. He was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So all that to say that the relationship is still there, and he's got three 60s Ducati singles in the middle of nowhere, Kansas.
Well, we should probably be watching these because obviously the ones that everybody wants, I want them to want them, and I hope he sells them. But I'd like to see if he gets left with anything.
Yeah.
To see if there's any possibilities in that pile.
Yeah. And it's funny because he's in a part of Kansas that I think these bikes came from the same stash where the guy I bought my 2 singles from got his.
Oh,
which
okay.
is the same guy, the old guy that I bought my Paso from,
right,
6 years ago or so.
Okay.
There was a single dealer, Ducati dealer in Kansas, and this guy had just a shitload of bikes in his collection, and then he had an auction, I think, when he died. Whatever. But I think basically I'm going to try and get all of the Ducatis that this old man wouldn't sell me when he was alive. So
I hope you do. I hope you just take his estate for him.
Yeah.
That'll
show him.
The money for his grandchildren's college education. Screw them. I'm going to pound you down a hole for my prize.
Nickel and dime him down. Have you got a 350 wide case, Carol? So anyway, I did the deal. He showed me the package with my address on it, just as a sort of, I guess,
courtesy. Okay, so it might be coming. Okay, good.
It might be coming. So then in the next week or so, I'll have this jug, and then I can finish the Ducati project.
All right. Well, I'm eager to see how it comes together. So
yeah, me too. So anyway, sorry, that just to put a pin in all that, the barrel saga is almost over. What do you got?
All right.
What do you got?
I have got 3 things. We'll go through them sort of quickly if you want. Okay. Sure. I want to talk about the difference between 2, 3, and 4 row aluminum radiators for sports cars. All right.
Sure.
I know, but it's something we deal with. All right.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about trials riding.
Okay.
And hanging out with people who ride trials, because we always, got a lot to say about the people.
Yeah.
All right. And then also when we're done near the end, I want to tell you why I've been sexually aroused all day.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And I'd like to tell you why.
Okay.
So does that sound fair?
Yes. Okay. In increasing order of importance.
Okay. I need a radiator for my Volvo 1800. So I've put in a later model B20 motor, and it's been punched out a little bit. And when I got it all together and put it in, my old radiator leaked. And so I need to get a new radiator for it. So like most people in our category, you start trolling for a radiator. You'll end up finding either, is that the cuckoo clock?
Yeah, sorry, hang on. I just realized.
No, people love that. Just leave it in.
I hope. I forgot to stop the clocks. I hope that's been ticking the entire
Andy,
time.
At least a third of our audience are cuckoo clock enthusiasts. I don't know why you don't just let that.
That's one of my keywords.
Yeah, they tune in to hear about the cuckoo clocks and the pots you're selling on Facebook. So,
which I have another story for. But go ahead.
All right. Anyway, you need a radiator. If you start to look for one, you're going to finally end up on eBay or on Amazon, and you're going to find these nice looking aluminum radiators that are made in China, and they're cheap. Okay. And so the difference is that if I go to a qualified, racing radiator, $800 to $1,200 for one that's American made by a company that makes things for guys that race and rally, they're probably great for life, but it's very hard not to get tempted, to be tempted by the $200 Chinese radiator.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they're all imported by American companies, but they're made in China. All right, that's what it is. So I do a little bit of a search on the on the boards and see if anybody's had the Chinese radiators. A bunch of guys have had them, think they're fine. A bunch of guys have had them that are sure that nothing decent will ever come out of China, and that obviously you shouldn't even be working on a classic car if you can't afford to buy, the restoration grade radiator for $1,400. So there's a little bit of shaming going on.
Are those Volvo guys or just old car guys?
Just car
racing
guys. Okay. Just car guys. Yeah. I mean, they're the same in every group. There's always somebody who wants to shame someone for not having enough money. All right.
Yeah.
But here's the other interesting thing I want to bring up, because there is a little bit of a technical understanding of it. So when you get a replacement radiator, you have a chance, in my category anyway, I can get a 2-row radiator, which is 2 rows of cooling tubes, a 3-row radiator, or a 4-row radiator. immediately my first inclination is go, well, let's get the 4-row. That's 4 times, that's all those cooling tubes. That's going to be a lot more cooling surface area. That's going to be way more effective. So I start to look into it a little bit, and I'm a bit surprised, and I'm surprised that I didn't know this by thinking it through more clearly. But it turns out that there are times a 2-row radiator will cool much more effectively than a 4-row radiator, for the very simple reason that 4 rows, it's harder to get air through.
Yeah.
And 4 rows are introducing temperature into four different areas, 4 different rows in the radiator. And only the two ones in the front are getting the most air. So the actual back 2 rows, if you don't radiator more, than a 2-row would. Is this boring?
Yes. No. I get it, because that's, as soon as you said but, I was like, oh yeah, well actually the 2 middle rows would be hotter, and the external rows would be, I'm on it.
Yeah. So unless you have great airflow, I mean, you got to really pull a lot of air through rows. So I kind of had a good time thinking that through. And then I also thought of this too, because I have a friend who has a Volvo 544 that overheats all the time. And of course he went for the 4-row radiator, and then he got an oil cooler, and he stacked those all up so that now we've got about 8 inches of material in front of the car.
Yeah.
And the way, if you think about it, it's like you have cool air coming in. The first thing it hits is your oil temperature, and oil temperature can be high. That can be 260 to 300 degrees easy, right? And then that's in front of your radiator. That's the first thing the air hits before it gets to the water radiator. And so to me, I finally decided, I think correctly, to go, in my case anyway, to go with the 2-row radiator, so that it's just facing the air. I got 2 rows to get through, and I'll be curious to see if that's going to provide adequate cooling for my car.
Is it a 1.8 liter?
It's a 2 liter.
Oh, it's 2 liter. Yeah, because like a newer aluminum radiator should be great for anything under, you know what I mean, like a truck.
Yeah, and but in my case, it's in this little car. I did put air conditioning on it, so it's going to have a little bit of extra draw. The compartment's tight; it's hot in there, so we'll see how it works out. But the reason I brought it up is because intuitively, I didn't think it through, and I just automatically went from, I'm going to get an 11-row radiator. I'll take care of this cooling problem. But if you stop and think about, listen, you're making a big heater, a big radiant heater in front of your car. And actually, you want the smallest radiant heater that you can up there, so all the heat will radiate off of it. We're not trying to hold a lot of heat in. We're not trying to keep the temperature up. I'm trying to keep the temperature down. So there are places where, the 4-row radiator matters. But anyway, I was pleased by the fact that I read a little bit and thought it through myself a little bit, and came to a decision that I'm happy with. I'm getting a 2-row, $200 Chinese radiator for my car, and I have peace, Andy.
Yeah, and the worst thing is if it doesn't work, or if it somehow goes bad, or if it's got a bad weld in 2 years, then you're still, and you get another one, you're still under the $600 one that you got.
Yes, this is part of the strategy with buying cheap Chinese stuff, is just the fact that just get another one.
Well,
the only issue is if you're traveling or you're racing or you're rallying where you lose big, then I think you got to step up and go, I got to get the best of the best and be assured that I have the best of the best.
Yeah, you want quality control and all. Right. Well, okay, that's
it. So
inanely boring topic, but the takeaway is that instead of just saying, well, this is cheaper and it's the best, it's not actually the best. Do your research, figure out what you actually need or what is adequate for your needs, because there's a reason that it's adequate for your needs.
Yeah, and in the end, I'm forced to think through something myself. So if I would have asked this on a forum like last week, you can imagine the religious, intolerant responses people would give for whatever their point of view is. You must have the 4 rows. You're going to kill your car with the 4 rows. It would have been absolutely passionate, dysfunctional forum bullshit. So I took away what I thought were the key lessons, and I made my own decision, and I'm willing to live with it. What do you think of that?
On that note, does a 4-row do anything in terms of draw on your water pump? Because there's more resistance?
No.
Okay.
There's more capacity. I don't know. Okay, that's a good question. More. I don't know. Okay.
But I wonder. You
realize what you just did, right? You added a feature to the discussion that hadn't been.
Well, you're not. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you know what you're doing. You're upgrading. You got a shitty water pump. What is it? What is it? A P1800?
Let me ask you this, Andy. If this was a forum,
mistake.
would you have appreciated this introduction of the content into the thread?
I would have said, "Oh, your first mistake was going Volvo," and then left and never come back and paid any attention to the shitstorm that I just created.
There you go. That would have. Yeah, you're perfect. You're perfect for these forums.
Okay. Tell me about.
Hey, I want to talk to you about trials riding.
Yes.
Okay. Because I remember today, my daughter's visiting, and we got out her old trials bike, and I wanted to get it running, and it turns out I got to take it apart and mess with it, so I didn't get it running today. But I thought to one of the fun days that I had with her when she was 15 years old, 14 or 15 years old. I was trying to get her interested in riding motorcycles, and I wanted to do trials bikes because they were, I didn't want to get into motocross. I just thought I don't really appreciate the speed and, all that kind of stuff that could happen. I thought trials would be pretty fun, but yet pretty safe, kind of unique. And my daughter initially was interested as soon as I told her she could get motorcycle clothes. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she got the outfit, right? But anyway, we went one day to a trials event that was put on by a club in the Sierras in California. And this is a group, they own 20 acres of land. The club does. Everybody pays $150 a year. You can go up there and ride on the land anytime you want. And then 4 or 5 times a year, they do an event, and everybody has to take a turn supporting the event as a judge or a helper. And then, then you compete in the other events. So you don't get guaranteed to compete in all the events there because you got to help with a number of them. Yeah. Very reasonable community, requirement. So anyway, we went up there. And Andy, I have to tell you, this is a group of unpretentious people. They were just having fun, and there were all kinds of cool old trials bikes out there because it was a vintage event. And so everybody liked the old stuff. Everybody seemed to like each other's stuff. There didn't seem to be any prancing or any of this pissing match going on. And then I watched a bunch of the elements where I watched the guys get judged or whatever. And some of the best guys came through, cleared these things without touching, but were really decent and not assholes about it, not egotistical. And they stayed around and commented on the other guys. And there was just kind of generally a decency about the whole thing. And then I walked through the campground on the way back, and I looked over there and I saw this family that had some beta, brand new betas parked. And I wanted to look at the betas. And I was just explaining to my daughter then, I said, hey, listen, we're going to get an older vintage bike for you, but here's what some of the new ones look like, which was a big mistake because, of course, as soon as she saw the new ones, she said it would be fine if we got those.
Yeah.
Sure. But anyway, we went over, and there was this adorable, fun family, had a junior high daughter, had a high school daughter, and then a daughter old enough to have a baby, in her 20s. They all ride. They all were there taking turns looking after the baby and whatever. Their parents were there. And there are 4 or 5 of these out front. And we stopped to talk to the girls. And I said, hey, listen, my daughter's thinking about getting involved. We're getting started. And they just pulled up a chair, sit down. I think you should do it. That'd be great. You should call us. They were ready to be friends. And then they showed us their betas, and let us look at them and offered to let us ride them. And, they were just so sweet. The whole family was just sweet. Nice. And you just thought, this is when I think of what family would be like. This is one of those events. It's kind of like watching the Pioneer Woman, when she makes dinner for her family and they all work on the ranch and they come in. You just think, what a great day. All the kids and boys were out chasing cows. They came home and mom made a great dinner. Great. Yeah. That's killer. And this was a version of that. This is the motorsport version of that. And they were out riding trials, having fun, goofing around, had some new bikes, had some old bikes. But I tell you, across the board, Andy, it was just a inclusive environment. And I thought that would be such a neat thing to be a part of. And just because we were reminded of that today, because I hadn't messed with my trials bikes in a while. But so I'm going to join one of the associations here in Arizona now. It's because where I live. But I don't know. Have you ever stumbled into a community like that was that functional? Most of the times in motorsport stuff, I find a lot of stuff I like. And then it's like, there's a lot of shit you got to put up with.
Yeah. You can't. This was not a lot of approachable people. It's just kind of like it's a little bit of a. I need you to tell me how awesome this thing is before I'll give you any of my time. Because it's kind of you spot it, you got it. Like I've rolled up and been like jumped. I'm looking at my bike and then I understand it, but there's a degree to which, like, especially in vintage stuff, it's like dude, like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it seems like in the trials world specifically, it is still very family, and it still seems like that experience is, of all the sort of motorsports things, that experience is still as close to maybe it was in the 60s and 70s than anything else in that world. You know what I mean? Like,
it seems like it. Of course, we could join and find out that it's, you never know what you're going to find.
right.
But initially, I was just so struck by it. It was awfully sincere, and if someone did a great job on a section, they were thrilled because they did a great job on the section. But anyway, it was just all seemed to be so authentic, and there wasn't, it's like, and I've been guilty, I've got an ego as big as Texas. And so there's a lot of times I get someplace, I unload my bikes, and I just think, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to want to talk to me. So let me just get a bottle of water here so I can start the seminar.
Let's start the lineup.
And
yeah.
That's right. I'm here now and I got some shiny shit to show everybody. And I'm always disappointed in myself when I take that tack, But in this case, nobody took that. And I thought, well, actually, this is a group I need to be a part of so that I can learn to be somewhat humble and not an asshole. This would be the kind of group that would contribute to my growth as a human.
Well, because I think it's more about, it is more authentic because you're there to ride these bikes in a particular way. It's not you're there because you have the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to show up and unload your Montesas and sit in a lawn chair and not ride them. Right. The riding of them is the reason for being there. And I think that authenticity is lost because, anybody can, quote unquote, ride a bike into a parking lot and then polish it and sit down and have a beer.
Right.
But you're there participating in this thing. And what's more is you're financially invested in this thing. You're not invested, but you're paying to participate. So that is kind of and maybe it's because everybody's, older. Maybe it's or there's like a patriarch sort of sense to it. Like dad rode bikes and we all went to support or something like that.
And I will tell you this, I found more interesting women, riding. The young girls were just adorable. There were a lot of, neat 40, 50 and 60-year-old women that were out there riding. Some of them because they were there with other family members or maybe a husband, but there were some that were just, or other partners or whatever. But it just seemed to be that there was just something so neat about seeing everybody get out there. And, the other feature was that there was enough competition to keep things interesting and honest, but it wasn't overly focused on. It wasn't like it was this brutal kill everybody to win, but also equally bad. I hate it when nobody wins and everybody gets a trophy. I hate that shit. So, but this was just the right blend of, hey, we're here, you do keep score, this is how you scored. But anyway, it just seemed to be so inclusive and fun. And so I'm going to look into joining here in Arizona. And I'm going to just tell you right now that if you're any kind of father at all, you should start looking for Dylan, a neat little Yamaha 80 trials bike, because it's a great little beginner bike. Yeah. And then you go to some vintage trials events and you guys are going to be at home with family. It's going to be fucking great for you and her. Yeah. And it's going to be cute as a button. And everybody's going to be glad you're there.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, last time we talked, when you bought that little buddy bike, I found another one that I was like, oh, well, now I have to get a buddy bike, and I'm done. And I found one, and it was like $600 for a really clean YT something or another Japanese little 185 or whatever.
Yeah.
He forgot a 0.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, it was for your attention. Turns out he's a Ducati guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was like, yeah, now I have to get a little buddy bike. But then,
yeah. Well, think about Twin Shock Vintage Trials. It's just a fun, unpretentious group. And they're still, I mean, obviously I fit in that group, but of course, I got myself a Montesa because there's no possible way.
Well, hey, we have Montesas.
Yes.
So,
and I want an Ossa. But what I don't want, and my daughter has a Yamaha TY, which is a perfectly credible, vintage trials bike, but I don't want a Japanese bike to ride vintage trials on.
Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah.
Right. So there's still a chance for me to, possess some of my assholiness.
Well,
about brand snobbery.
Yeah. So in Oklahoma, from that, I have a little Montesa 123, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that I really love it. Went to ride it out in the woods a couple of days. Fun little bike. So when I was in Oklahoma, after you had left, I went to look at another Montesa that came up, and I thought it was a 246. So I completely justified this, very reasonably priced Montesa 246 in the middle of nowhere.
Was it 6 hours, 6-hour road trip to go see it?
No, it was only an hour and a half from Durant.
Okay.
But it was in Texas, so I had to cross the border. So I went to buy it, brought it home. Turns out it was another 123.
Oh, there you go.
Like, well, that's fine. I mean, it's not a 246, which is what I want, but it's no big deal. I should have dug more into it to look at it, but I was talking to the guy. We were shooting the shit, and I just loaded it without thinking. But what I was thinking about doing is, because it's kind of roached. It turns over and it can be brought back to life. But I was thinking about, because I have the 123, depending on the state of the engine, I thought about taking it apart and putting those forks on one of the Moto Guzzi single frames that I have, and making this little Moto Guzzi into a trial.
Be a good Euro donor, right?
Yeah, but I have to see what the state of the engine is. But I thought about that.
That could also be if you decided to just lower the front forks a little bit, maybe get some slightly shorter shocks for it, because they don't have hardly any travel anyway. This could be Dylan's beginning trials bike, and dad and daughter could both ride Montesa 123s.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
Believe me, that's what I was gonna have a 246, and she was gonna have the 123.
Yeah,
I had the whole thing. All I needed now was like some jackets.
Yeah,
we could.
You got to come up with a team name.
Yeah, you have a team name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So believe me, she's already got most of the bikes that I've bought in the last 4 to 5
Taylor
years.
trials. Come on, that would look so good on a jacket.
Oh my God. Most of the bikes I bought in the last 4 or 5 years, in the back of my head, I said, okay, well, she can ride this one when she's 8 or 10 or 12 or whatever. So she already has like a progression of motorcycles, when she's old enough to fit into a helmet.
Yeah, fantastic.
But we got to get started, because she's 6 this week. Jeez.
That's that happened quick. But I'm telling you, I think joining the trials thing gives you enough of an excuse to get out and go. Because what'll happen if you just say, oh yeah, we're going to go out, get a little motocross bike and go trail riding. It's just hard to make that happen all the time. But yet if you join the club, you know what? You got to go show up for events and help. You get to be social, get to know people. Then you go up and you compete in a couple events yourself. And then, then all of a sudden it's in your lifestyle, and there's just, I don't think there's anything better for a young person to be involved in the responsibility that it takes to ride a motorcycle. And then the outdoorsy part of it. It's just so much better than becoming a mall-oriented fashion Instagram, lifestyle thing. It's just
little shit.
Yeah, this is just a chance to really get something going. And I missed it. I wish I would have put a lot more effort into making that happen.
Well, and to be fair, like when I was a kid, like if you rode a motorcycle and you were in school with me, you were like unattainably cool. Like we don't even talk about that aspect of your life, because I have nothing to contribute. You're so awesome,
Yeah. You're so ahead of the game.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
okay. I got to tell you, Andy.
I don't want to ask for it, so go ahead and tell me.
I'm leaning close to the mic now. I've been sexually aroused since about 11 o'clock this morning.
Oh, good. Good.
Let me tell you why. So, Andy, first of all, I don't know if it's okay for me to be sexually aroused, because about a year and a half ago, that became totally suspect of any man who ever had interest in anything sexual was objectifying women, right?
Okay. Yes.
So I just want to say that this is not a case of me objectifying my wife. Okay. But I tell you what, she said something today.
Okay.
That just made me crazy.
Yeah.
Right. We're outside in the driveway, and my daughter's boyfriend is visiting. He got himself a 1975 Kawasaki 175 F7. It's the same bike I had in high school.
Okay.
Right? So he leaves it here at my place and comes out and works on it and rides it a little bit. So he's got it out and he's working on it, ride it, and he's doing a great job, but he's kind of at the beginning of his motorcycle journey, right? So we're talking about just how to use the clutch, you know, what it requires, whatever. And my wife sort of stands back, waits for a pause in the conversation. All of a sudden I look over there, the sun's behind her. You know, she has just, you know, she's got this beautiful blend of gray blonde hair. I mean, just an attractive older woman, you know, my age, you know, I'll probably get in trouble for saying older.
You're already digging, yeah.
But anyway, but she's just looking hot. All right. And the sunlight's coming from the back. And then she says to my daughter's boyfriend, she goes, "Hey, let me tell you how the clutch works. Here's a way to think about how a clutch works."
Forget about it.
Went technical on a clutch explanation.
Man. Yeah.
And I'm gone. I'm over the moon. I've got my phone out and I'm ordering some blue pills. I'm going, you got to FedEx, you got to bring those things soon. All right. So she puts on this explanation for how a clutch works. And it was simple. It was beautiful. And it was correct, and it helped him understand what's really happening and why the clutch makes this motorcycle glow, or why any clutch eventually makes contact and transfers the spinning force of the engine through the transmission to whatever the drive wheels are. She gave such a beautiful little description of this, so simple, and it was just absolutely intoxicating to me.
I'm so glad that you're telling me this right now.
Like, isn't it just like an object of your imagination that you'd have a talk like that?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like, I imagine that there was, or it gives me hope is that I imagine there was a time where you were giving those explanations, or, you know, having the conversation, leading the conversation of how something was important, or distilling that information down for her. Mansplaining maybe might be the word.
Yeah, I do that.
That was annoying, and like, who cares, Blaine? But over the years, you've brought her along with you, and I'm sure she's brought you along in some of those areas of your life. But that now you guys are such a unit that this makes sense. You know, like, this is how you explain it, because this is how we operate a clutch.
That's right.
That's nice.
That's right. Yeah, it was just, I just want to keep talking about it. Can I tell you again?
Yeah. Well, I do know, I'm happy because I do know the story of when you guys needed a air filter.
Oh,
water
this is
filter?
a totally quick story, but this is early in our relationship. I had a stage 1 V8 Land Rover. All right. So the Land Rover guys will get this. They didn't have them in the United States. At the time they were hard to find. So I had the only V8 Land Rover, 1980 stage 1, you know, just classic Defender. And of course it's, you know, piece of shit and needs all kinds of things. And I'm driving it every day anyway. We decided to take it out on a road trip to where I was working in my shop. Halfway there, the car overheats on the California Delta. All right. On this road on a levee. And, I'm going to need to put some water in the radiator after it cools down for us to get to town for me to fix what was eventually just a leaky water pump. But I'm looking at this muddy water in the ditch. That's the only thing that access on. So I'm going to have to put this muddy water in. So I'm down there with the old water bottle, trying to get the water into the water bottle. And I'm telling Trisha, she's up in the car. I'm saying, hey, you know, it's too bad I have to put this muddy water in, but I'm just going to have to do it. She goes, oh, wait. And before I could even get up out of the ditch, she had her underwear off. That's the end of the story. No, she, which is a great story. No, there's more. Yeah. She had her underwear off and said, look, you can strain that muddy water through my underwear. And that is, again, what do you, at that point, you just say, we must be married.
Yeah.
We have to be, you know,
take a beat. Yeah.
You have to spend your life with me. And so then I used her underwear and I strained this muddy Delta water. And then we went on the rest of the way to the shop. And I can tell you, I thought about two things that were just great. I thought, I can't believe she would sacrifice that immediately. It's such a good idea too, because her underwear is a great strainer, you know? And then two, I just thought, my wife's riding next to me with no underwear on.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And nobody knows.
But with good reason. Yeah.
With good reason. Yeah. So
that's nice.
Yeah. If she does that once every 20 years, that's enough for me.
Yeah. My wife watered the plants the other day and I nearly fell out of my chair. Like, you know, that's where we're at in that journey right now. Is I bought some plants because I thought it'd be a good idea and she would like them. Turns out she didn't like them. But finally, about 6 weeks into the plant purchase, she's coming around.
Coming around. Oh.
Yeah. Things are coming up Andy around here.
Yeah. Well, I hope it works well. I'm all set for about 2 weeks here. I can just live off of this. Yeah, I'm all set for a long time now.
This podcast is produced and edited by Hole in the Head Moto. Find us on the socials at Hole in the Head Moto and see our website holeintheheadmoto.com for more info, swag, and pictures of projects. You can help this little show by subscribing and even leaving a review. It's a huge help and we appreciate it.